Hello, everyone. Welcome to Yoga and How to Modify. My name's Dee. I've been teaching yoga for about 6 years, a little over 6 years. And this class is aimed to help you understand what different options there are in poses to make them more comfortable for your body. If you were to ask me, what can I look to get the most out of yoga class? What is it that you focus most on? I'd have to say that it would be getting in touch and in tune with your own body and helping yourself figure out how to stretch it, strengthen it, move it in a way that works with the proportions of the length of your bones, and how they're fit together at the joints. So please join me on your mat. And today, by the way, I've added a bed pillow because we'll come into a couple of poses that might help support you more in. And I'll also be showing you some things that I do with a strap. So I'm going to go ahead and place a folded wool blanket, any blanket will do, on excuse me, my mat here, and I'll sit my sits bones down. I could have also chosen to sit with my sits bones both on a block in this orientation. I could have also chosen to kneel. You can do the same thing, legs in any position, it doesn't matter. Your arms can be helping to hold you up. You might even use some blocks under the hands to be able to get the arms in a comfortable position. Try not to lift your shoulders. Like this for me doesn't work, right? My arms are long enough. I don't need to modify, or it hunches my shoulders up to my ears, which isn't relaxing them back and down how they're supposed to be. So that's a great example of how the different proportions of our bones can help us be comfortable or not in certain shapes. So continue on with me here in your comfortable position, making sure your back feels supported. And I talked about your sits bones. We'll press them into the crop underneath us, whether it's a mat or other things. And we'll close down the eyes. Part of that goal of yoga, or the intention to draw the body into motion so that you can work on strength and balance and grounding, is being able to bring, one other thing is being able to bring ourselves into our minds and our bodies and just release the outside world. That's what we're doing here as we begin our practice together each week. And this beginning part is called Shavasana. Shavasana means meditation. We are closing our eyes and we're preparing the body. So think about your body actually physically settling into place wherever you are or however you're arranged. And usually in Shavasana, I like to draw from another branch besides asana, what we're doing here, putting ourselves in a position. I'd like to draw us into pranayama, another branch on the tree of yoga. We're really doing more than that even, because as we do pranayama and focus on our breath, we're also concentrating on a single object, which is another of the limbs that we study in yoga. So let's take all of that, or leave what doesn't serve you and just set it aside. And let's begin to focus on the length of each breath. Watching yourself like you have a mind's eye inside your body. Little camera, watching the lungs expand and release. And I'd like to focus on Ujjayi breath again today. I will introduce other breath exercises or pranayama practices as the semester rolls on. You may not be viewing this in a semester mode. That's okay. Just know that sometimes I'm focusing on the same breath so we can really attune ourselves to that pace and what we're getting from that. Watching the sensations in the bodies as we react to different breathing. And so in Ujjayi breath, we constrict the throat on both the inhale and the exhale, that we're taking up and in through the nose, and then releasing out, up and out, to rid the body of the waste of the gas that's wasted, right? That doesn't need to stay in the body. And so constricting that throat, that passageway, air passageway, you're really slowing down the amount of breath the body's taking in. You're hearing this sound like an or an ah or a ha, like a hum, a vibration, really. And as you're ready, go ahead and release that breath. I hope you could take at least 5 to 10 rounds of that breathing. Just come back to your normal ebb and flow, knowing that your breath is probably still going to be more extended because you are concentrating on it. And we are moving or progressing towards being able to do that. Always knowing we can stay with the comfort level. We never want to feel like we're running out of air or we're holding our breath too long. We shouldn't hold our breath unless I direct that. Some pranayamas, we hold our breath, but at any rate, let's flutter open our eyes. Good. And then just kind of take in the surroundings around you. Maybe move the head a little bit around, moving the nose, the chin, the eyes, maybe looking up and around and down and over. Good. Now let's bring our chin and our nose back to the center, and let's start some seated cat-cows. So let's stretch our hands way out in front of us, reaching with the palms shoulder distance apart. Start to round your spine and drop your chin, and see if you can rock back. So I'm actually dropping the lower part of my back towards the floor. Good. Now on the next inhale, let's sit up, bringing the hands out to the side. Come to neutral spine with the arms here, and then draw them back just a little bit, arching the back just a little bit, making that arch into that cow shape. And then as you're ready, keep moving, keeping the hands as lifted as you're able, lowering them if they get tired, or maybe never lifting them all the way in the first place. All those are modifications you can use to make yoga feel good in your body, so you get all the health benefits of a healthy yoga practice. Let's come back to center, or bring ourselves back to neutral rather. Now we've moved our spine forward and back. We've arched and rounded. Let's come laterally to the side, making sure that we stay in this very thin front to back space on our mat. So on the next inhale, lift on and lift the arms up overhead. Let's have the left hand grab the right wrist, and we're going to exhale, leaning over. If it's more comfortable to keep your hands supported on the mat, lower that left hand as you reach the right hand over. Just make sure that you're not drawing that shoulder forward, that you're keeping everything stacked. Now inhale, come straight up and down. Find the length here. That's another extension of the spine, right? Another way we can move rather the spine. And then exhale that arm or both arms down by your side. Awesome. Let's inhale both arms once again. This time right grabs left wrist. Good. And we just lean over as we exhale. We can make this upper arm heavy or reach it up more, depending on what kind of stretch our body wants to feel, or depending on the discomfort that we might feel in one pose or another. Inhale the arm way back up, find that length, and then exhale the arm down. Good. We're slowing down the breath as we move. That's why I mentioned when to inhale, when to exhale. Let's release the legs long and forward. They were already long and forward. Keep them there. And let's start to wiggle the toes here, pointing and flexing. And let's wiggle the hands and fingers too. Let's get the wrists into this. Give them a little stretch before we come up into table. But first, let's head into a pose that's called sage, and it's a twist. Let's bend up through the left side, coming onto that left foot. We can keep that knee here, and the heel can honestly be as far away from your body or as close to your hips, like as close or as far away to your hips as needed. It doesn't matter where it is. You could even just cross one ankle over the other. If you're seated in a chair, cross one knee over the other or one ankle over the other. Then what we'll do is opposite hand comes to that top knee, whichever side that's on. Now, press through the heel of your extended leg. We want to keep this leg actively pressing into the floor and engaged through the heel. And we'll inhale to sit up nice and tall. And as we exhale, we can start to turn the chest. Some of you may be limber enough where you already started turning the chest, and then at a point you stopped, you inhaled, lengthening the spine, then exhale. See if you can twist. And using the weight of this knee and the arm and hand, holding on to it. Help you keep your posture then nice and straight and long. Pelvis in a neutral position. And we can draw our chin to the back shoulder. Look with our eyes back there behind us. And then start to bring everything to the center on your next exhale and just slowly kind of unwrap or unwind yourself. Lean back on your hands, stretch out your leg. That was the knee that was bent. And let's shift back and forth, kind of alternating. I'm leaning back on my hands because that feels comfortable. And I'm just pressing one leg forward and then drawing it back for a moment, just to give the body a little bit of a counter pose, right? As you're ready, bend up through the right knee and keep the foot on that same right side or cross over any amount. Pay attention to where your heel feels good. You know, is that too much of a tweak on your knee to bring the foot over? If it is, that's fine. You're still getting the intended stretch here. So no matter what position you're in, opposite hand comes to the bent knee, and we'll lengthen that long leg still on the floor, right? By pressing through the heel. Inhale to lift. Elongate. Exhale to twist. Just feel your body flowing towards, looking behind you, and then stopping at some point that's comfortable for you and your body. One of the goals of this class is to try to erase how you think poses should look and do them the way that make your body feel good, and be confident that because you're helping your body, that you're also not missing anything except for a potential injury, which is a good thing to miss. Exhale to release, come back to the front. And if you'd like to stretch the legs in any way, the feet, maybe do some windshield wipers, feel free. That's another modification you can make. Maybe you're not ready to move from one pose to another. So you come into a shape or new shape or stay in the old shape a couple breaths longer. Does not matter. Let's get on our hands and knees. Maybe bringing along a prop to soften a cushion. And we'll come into table here. Let's step our left foot forward and let's come into a low lunge. If you'd like to bring your blocks with you, I recommend it. It's nice to have them under my hands. And you could figure out what level you like them best, of what feels the best for your body. Once you're in the position, let me take a few moments as you hold here and breathe to explain that that back leg should be back behind you, knee and the top of the foot on the floor, along with that bone in between, right? And then we're sinking into our hips. That's what the lower part of the body is doing. The knee that's forward is bent right over the heel, and the upper body, waist up, is lifted away from that back leg. Bring your chin into the right position and see if you can feel your back extending here while your hips are releasing and you're breathing. Good. Let's shift back by pressing into those blocks or into the floor. The hips go behind you, come over that back knee, and we can kind of walk the blocks towards that back knee, keeping our heel grounded and just lifting the toes and the arch of the foot off the mat. Press through the heel till you feel your hamstrings stretching, and maybe it's a combination of releasing your hips towards the floor. Some people like to put a blanket behind the knee in this shape to create and keep some space there. When you're ready, walk forward back into your low lunge. And let's place the right hand down by that left foot and let's revolve our chest towards that front leg, and we'll turn and try to open our arm out to the side and up. And let's try to lift those fingers towards the ceiling, any amount, and stay balanced here, working the shifts as they happen. I can feel all sorts of wiggling in my body as it fights to stay here. Make sure your breathing is normal and still extended and like in this yoga trance type rate. Exhale to release that arm. Our breath can really help us determine as we come back into table here whether we're taking our practice too far. If our breath is becoming jagged and shallow, we're taking it too far. Okay. All right. Back in our tabletop pose, let's switch sides. We'll bring the right foot, stepping it forward. And coming into that same low lunge shape, finding our way there slowly by shifting and altering, kind of settling in, maybe readjusting from the settling in, finding out where, no, that's not going to work as I settle in, right? I have to move and do something different. Listening to our body, trying to keep other thoughts at bay, right? To be able to do that. And finding the extension between the lower back leg and the top of the head through the length of the body. As you're ready, press into that forward foot. Really ground the heel, but lift the toes as you shift the hips back. Maybe walk the blocks or your hands still touching the floor. Keeping yourself lifted. Bring a stretch into your hamstrings on this side, the back of the lower leg, pressing through the heel, drawing the toes towards you. We'll sink back into that low lunge one more time. Breathing evenly, trying to keep it smooth and extended. And then we'll shift back into our table. briefly so that we can come into child's pose, widening the knees, bringing the big toes together, shifting the hips back towards the heels if that's possible, maybe putting a pillow behind there if that feels good to sort of create more space between the lower and upper legs. We'll eventually settle our chest and head forward, lowering as far as we can. Another option beside the pillow is to put a block under your forehead, a block under your chest to support you, or even possibly under your abdomen. So there's all sorts of modifications you can make depending on the discomfort you're dealing with, if any. Some poses you may be able to do come lower to the ground, for example, or come deeper into the pose. However, my caution is that deeper isn't always better, unless it's a resting pose, that is. One more breath here, and then we'll inhale to come up into table and up into downward facing dog. So we'll curl our toes under our feet, lift our knees and hips up and back, come onto the hands, palms down, and the balls and toes of the feet, the ball and toes of the feet. All right, so we can lift and lower the heels here, stretching the backs of the legs. We can walk the dog here. We'll eventually make our way to standing. To do so, you can come down in through table, let the knees come down, come up to a high kneel, and then step 1 foot forward, lifting up off the back leg. You could also come in through a forward fold. Down dog, walk your hands to your feet, come in through a forward fold. If you want to try coming down again and coming up a different way, please feel free to do that. And we'll all meet in mountain pose. All right, from here, we've been doing sun breaths, so let's do them standing and along with, kind of coupled with or sequenced with forward folds. So standing with your feet hip distance apart, engaging the bottoms of your feet so your legs are holding you up. We'll inhale the arms out and up overhead. Let's exhale, nose dive forward fold, bend the elbows and the knees, and that's it. We're going to release the body here and breathe for a moment or two. And on the next inhale, let's press down through the feet. Let's lift up through the torso, the head, shoulders lift. The arms come up overhead, palms come together gently, and then we exhale, hands down to the heart. Keep moving in this sun breath, nose dive forward fold sequence. Spending as much or as little time as you are comfortable. Maybe not skipping a beat of movement, not staying still in the forward fold. Maybe that brings too much tension to the spine. So you're more flowing and moving up and down more frequently. Bending the knees is another great accommodation for a forward fold. So we could rest the belly and the chest towards the thigh and release the pressure on the back of the spine. And the next time your arms are lifting up over your head and settling back down on the exhale at heart center, go ahead and leave them there. And just stand for a moment, checking in with your breath, noticing if it's sped up or if it's gotten any choppier. From here, let's come into chair pose and also add a tree to the end, and I want it to be kind of flowy as well. So let's see how well that works. All right, so what we'll do is come into mountain. Let's inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale, we'll sink the hips down and back as we bend the knees. We can lower the hands, keep them low, medium, bring them to the heart. There's lots of options here, right? I mean, there are so many options. From chair, we'll lift ourselves back up, pressing down through the feet, straightening the knees. We'll lean to the left, pop the right knee, open it out to the side, and either keep the foot where it is or draw the heel in so that our standing leg and the bent knee leg are one unit. The foot and the ankle or the heel is kind of pressing into the opposite standing leg, standing lower leg, right? The knee is out to the side, pointing the same direction as the toes. We can stay here, or we can bring the sole of the foot to the bottom of the leg, not on the knee. We can use our hand to bring it to the top of our leg. Set the lower part of your body, ground it wherever you choose to stay, and then inhale the arms up any amount. Grow your branches, lifting as much as the shoulders and spine will allow here. And then releasing the arms down, we'll bring the knee back towards the front, and we'll bring our weight onto that leg by stepping that foot down, straightening the knee. Good. Inhale your arms up one more time. Exhale, sink down into chair. Placing the arms where you're comfortable. Breathing here, holding this pose as long as you're able, releasing any pose whenever you'd like by coming back to the neutral position at whatever level we're at, standing, seated, table, or supine, or prone, right? All right, from here, we'll pop that left knee, turn it out, set up our lower legs in tree on the left side. Finding that stability before letting the next inhale. Once you're ready, lift your arms, staying stable, using a drishti, a focal point perhaps across the room. And again, here there may be wiggling. Maybe it was more prominent on one side than the other. Let's release on the next exhale our hands. We'll bring that knee forward, and then we'll step into that foot, bringing that back underneath us. From here, let's walk the feet out wide. We'll point our toes a little farther away than our heels. The goal here being, and try to measure this out, as you release the knees, bending them and letting the hips lower, where does it feel good to have your feet under your knees? Mine have to be with the heels right under the knees once they're bent. And so then the other part of this position is how wide are you able to bring the knees apart? How much do these inner thighs stretch? Maybe you're here, but the knees are still bent, so that's wonderful, and you're using your core to hold yourself up. Maybe you're lower. Either way is fine. If you want to keep your hands low, please do. If you want to move them up into goddess pose, please do. Holding here until you're ready. The neutral pose for this is 5-star. So we just press down through the feet, straighten the spine, lift the head up as far as it'll go, right? And the fingertips reaching towards the stars. And we'll come into goddess and then into 5-star. Let's exhale the goddess. You could stay here and breathe. You can inhale right away to 5-star. Move at your own pace through a few of these, keeping the elbows even with the shoulders in your goddess pose. And if you'd like to add in lion's breath, it's kind of a heated breath, not kind of, it's a heated breath. So if you're warm, you may not want to try it today. But if you're feeling okay, you can inhale as you're lifting up, just like usual. Exhale, ha out your breath as quickly as possible, and stick out your tongue as you breathe out. Lion's breath. All right, next time your hands are up for 5-star, go ahead and release them. We'll walk the feet together, just lifting each foot in place for a moment or two, kind of getting the hips to come back into a more neutral position. And then let's walk the feet out wide again. Okay. Now, here's what we'll do. Let's inhale the arms up like we're taking a sun breath. Then just like we did in forward fold with our feet together, let's exhale, start to bend our elbows and our knees, and we'll shift our head and shoulders forward to come into the forward fold. We can use a block or blocks, plural here, to hold us up. We're first just going for this stretch with the legs out wide. So see if you can let your body sort of surrender against the floor. Maybe move your head a little bit to keep it nice and loose. Bending the knees as much or as little as possible to help you be comfortable. You could even do this on facing a chair and keeping yourself lifted if the legs prevent you from folding forward more. All right, now from here, let's sort of walk our hands over to the right as we bring our chest and nose over to the right. Nose to knee pose. Take a breath or two there. And then while our hands are on the floor by this right foot, we're going to shift the right toes forward, lift the left heel up off the ground, shift the hips to face the opposite direction, and come back into a low lunge from here. If you'd like, grab a block, place it under each hand. Inhale to lift your chest away from your forward thigh. Come up onto the back right toes, lift the back right knee, and make this a high lunge. Working on the core to bring you up off the mat and the chest away from the body. All right, from here, make your way, whether you're in a low lunge or a high lunge, back to a wide angle forward fold. Hello, friend. Stretch. Just let your upper body relax over the lower body. Let your head relax. Maybe shake it yes, shake it no. Knees bent as much or as little as you'd like. Let's walk those hands now over towards that left foot. And then see if we can support ourselves enough to turn and face the opposite direction in either a low lunge, bringing down the back knee, or keeping lifted and coming up into a high lunge. Remember to keep the knee on top of the ankle in front of you. Don't bring the knee forward. It puts way too much pressure on the knee. Your feet are helping support you, keep you stable. They're pressing into the floor. The whole foot in the front and half the foot in the back, right? With the heel lifted. And then we'll come back into our wide angle forward fold. For just a moment, inhale, bring your arms out to the side, lift your head, neck, and shoulders up to standing. Bring the hands together and exhale the hands to the heart. Walking the feet or stepping the feet together and then shaking them out. Just stepping side to side, stretching the feet out, the legs, the ankles, any way you want. I like doing cross body stuff. just to get to different sides of my brain and my coordination. All right, we'll come back to our mountain pose. Inhaling our arms up, let's do a full body stretch once the arms are lifted. So once they're lifted, just continue to breathe and stretch the fingers and the hands towards the sky. From here, we'll come into palm tree by pressing into the top part of the feet, the ball of each foot and the toes, whoops, and then we'll lift the arms above the head and walk all over the mat in our tiptoes. Okay, on our tiptoes rather. Let's come back to the center of our mat. Let's take 3 to 5 sun breaths, lifting the heels at the same time. You inhale, lowering the heels. At the same time, you exhale. Really slowing movement matched with breath. Nice. And when your arms are right back down by your side, let's come down to the mat in any way that's comfortable for your body. Maybe sitting on a chair and then reaching down, maybe kneeling, stepping one foot back, maybe coming down through a squat, standing up nice and tall in mountain with the feet kind of like they were with goddess pose, maybe not quite that far apart. We'll go ahead and release towards the floor, coming into a squat, feet touching but hips lifted. What may help here is to sit on a pillow or the block. I like doing that. Why not? See if you can use your elbows to open your knees a little bit more away from each other. And let's come back into our tabletop pose from this position. Hands and knees. Pressing all 4 or really 6 points of contact, concluding the feet, into the floor. Let's begin on the right side. So pressing into the left hand, maybe even bringing it to the center if that works better for you. Lift the right hand up off the mat, and on your next inhale, we'll lift that arm out and up, reach the fingertips as we turn our chest to the right. As we exhale, stay lifted, but bring that right hand and arm underneath or behind the left wrist and arm. And then inhale, lifting. Exhale, stay high in your table shape. The third time, actually the fourth time, we breathe in and lift that arm. Let's lower all the way to the floor. I like to have a block under my shoulder and also one for the side of my face and head to kind of rest on. And so lay them underneath you in the proportions needed so that as you lower your body there, you have these blocks. Making this more comfortable. Take a few breaths here. Threading the needle. On the next inhale, lift yourself up by pressing that hand into the mat, bringing that right hand and arm underneath you, holding you there, supporting you. Let's move to the other side, pressing into that right side. Release the left hand on an inhale, bring that arm out and up. On the exhale, keep your chest lifted and just let the arm and palm reach out to the left side. Palm facing up. Inhale to twist and lift and open the chest. Exhale to close that arm across the chest. Open the shoulder in a different way. And then the fourth time, go ahead, lift that arm up, set your blocks up or a pillow underneath you, whatever's going to help you love your yoga practice more. That's what I recommend. And just settle in. Maybe you bring the right hand to the small of the spine, small of the back, rather, I'm sorry. Opening the shoulder, keeping the shoulder on the back of the rib cage there. Taking a few breaths. Good. Well, let the next exhale release that right hand. Inhale to lift yourself up. Pull that left arm back underneath you. Maybe lift it out to the side and up one more time before placing it on the mat. From here, let's widen the knees once more and sink our bodies back and down into child's pose. I'm going to place this big pillow underneath my chest and my abdomen this time and get a block for right underneath my forehead, leaving a little bit of space for me to breathe. Feel your body beginning to relax a little more, cool down from our standing. Good. On the next inhale, let's lift back up into our table. And let's bring our nose to our knee and alternate knees back and forth. So find your most comfortable tabletop position and then lift one knee off the mat. Start to curl the spine, bring the nose towards that knee, and then replace the knee. Bring your pelvis to neutral and bring your chin to neutral. Eyes gazing down by your hands and between your hands, and then go back and forth. We are rounding the spine and then bringing the spine to neutral. Leaning into the opposite leg to lift the other. Exhaling to lift the knee. Inhaling back to the neutral position. One more on each side. One more knee to nose on each side. Just a different knee to nose, right, than the one we did standing. Good. Let's come back to our table. Move your handprints 2 handprints up. Move your hands 2 handprints up from where they were and draw the left knee towards the left wrist. We're headed into pigeon here. Use your blocks. Some people like to have a block underneath that left hip. You could use your pillow from your bed under that left hip, just giving that left hip a little bit more support, and then releasing the hips as much as you can while supporting that left hip, right? Keeping your body lifted, maybe even using blocks to lift the belly and the chest a little more away from that front leg. However you're feeling comfortable, maybe you'd like to come into resting pigeon on forearms or all the way down into sleeping pigeon, chest draping over the forward thigh. And maybe you've moved your heel, the heel of the left foot, towards the right side of your body, sort of opening that knee a little bit here in whatever pigeon expression you've found today. One more breath here. And then on the next inhale, let's begin to shift to get our hands more underneath our shoulders so that we can slip or slide that left knee back in place next to the right. And then let's draw that opposite knee forward. Right knee comes to right wrist. We might prop that right hip up with our bed pillow. We might keep ourselves more lifted. Getting a stretch in the hip of the bent knee and in the thigh of the extended leg. In the spine, you're getting some extension. Because even if you're laying down, the idea as you lay down is to keep the spine extended so that you can create and then keep the spaciousness of the body. Take one more breath here. And then we'll release back into child's pose. Bringing everything towards the lower part of the mat and coming into a comfortable position. Taking a breath or two. We'll lift away from the floor, setting props aside. We'll come to our mat in supine position. Hips against the floor, the mat, legs stretched out, spine and the back of the head on the mat as well. Let's bend up through each foot, bend up through each knee, bringing, the foot onto the mat. And we'll set ourselves up for bridge pose here. So arms are extended along the side of the body, palms down. We'll press into our feet, press into the hands, and on the next inhale, lift or peel your hips up off the mat. Letting yourself sort of feel whether the knees are supported by the heels. They should be directly up over the heels. It's hard to tell from where we are. All right, where our vision is. We'll go ahead and exhale, letting the hips and the spine come down all at once. Let's not roll it down. We'll inhale to lift hips back up again. Spine lifts. Maybe you come up onto the middle of your back here. And you're breathing again, making sure your breath isn't ragged, and then lower the hips down. One more time, let's lift, peeling up, staring at the stars, and then exhaling to lower. We can use a strap for this next position, and we can also put, now that we're done with bridge, something under our head to just sort of cushion the back of the skull there. But we'll grab our strap, extend both legs long on the mat. We'll bend up through that right knee and we'll roll the right knee over. I'm grabbing onto the right knee with my left hand. And I'm going to keep my right shoulder on the floor, but I want to be able to drape this right leg and straighten the knee as much as is comfortable over to the side. So we're in a revolved twist. We can make this revolved hand to big toe by taking the first two fingers in our left hand, wrapping it around the right toe, and holding on to that leg as we stretch and open the knee. Stretch that leg out away from the body and open the knee. I can't really do that pose myself, so I'm taking a strap and I can put it on my foot and do something like this, or I can put it across my shin and do something like this. We want to hold on to the strap with just the left hand if possible. If not, go ahead and hold on to it. Otherwise, stretch that right arm and hand way out shoulder height over to the right, palm down, to really anchor this side of the body. Take a couple of breaths here. Start to press through the heel of the extended leg. See how that changes the positioning of your hips and the lifted leg. And then on the next exhale, let's roll back onto the mat. Let's lengthen that right foot. And let's take a breath here, just a moment, settling the body into the mat, releasing the tension in that right leg. Then as you're ready, let's bend up through that left knee, bringing the knee in towards the body, and we'll set up our revolved hand to big toe on this side. Perhaps using a strap. Perhaps just using a hand on the outside of the left knee, the right hand. Left arm is stretched out wide. Take a couple breaths here. And then press through the heel of the extended leg for a few breaths. And then roll back onto the spine. Let that knee release. Stretch out along the floor. Coming back into just a supine position here. Legs extended or bent, doesn't matter. From here, we'll stand a happy baby using the strap by bending up through each knee, bringing each foot onto the mat. Then one at a time or both knees together, drawing the knees in towards the chest. We can reach the strap, bring it over the knees. Maybe you can sit up. Sorry, not over the knees, over the toes, onto the back of the feet. You could sit up to do that. And then bring the feet hip distance apart and sink your knees towards your armpits. You can hold on to the strap and just sort of draw the feet and the legs, the knees toward you, and have a little more support in happy baby. You can also reach your hands up through and hold on to the inside arch. You can hold on to the outside arch. You can hold on to your shins, your knees, the backs of the thighs. However you can maneuver to make the pose helpful for you, right? So what we want to feel here is the stretching of the inner thighs as the knees open. We want the strength of the legs to improve so we can keep our feet lifted up over our knees. And we want to draw our knees towards our armpits to bring the stretch into the, hello there, stretch, into the hamstrings. So play with happy baby, breathe. And you can move from there into student choice. Something maybe using the strap or maybe something not. Something that your body is calling you to do here. Taking those few breaths in this pose, whatever one you've chosen. And as you're ready, let's bring our bodies into a position for our final Shavasana. Maybe your legs are straight, feet are pointed out to the sides. Maybe you have a bolster or a bed pillow or couch pillow underneath your knees, one knee, both knees. Lift up the middle of your spine and set your shoulder blades back and down. So towards each other, towards the middle of the spine and down along the spine, towards your hips, right? Back and down or in and down. That might be a better cue. And then just let the body totally release and relax here. Close down the eyes and begin to focus once again on your breath. First, not trying to change it, just noticing. And then releasing the breath, so letting yourself take longer and longer breaths in and breaths out. See if you can mentally work to relax your whole body. Make your body feel heavier. Maybe still adjusting to make sure you're 100% comfortable. Maybe you like doing legs up at the wall every class. And so that's where you go, or legs on the chair. Make your yoga your own. You'll feel so much better afterwards. And you deserve that feel good in your body feeling. We all do, as the divine creatures that we all are, every sentient being. Take 3 to 5 more breaths here. And then gently begin to rock your head from left to right, moving as you're ready to move. And keeping the movement slow, nothing jarring. Good. Once your head is back to center, move your whole body onto one side, stacking hips and shoulders. And then inhale to lift up out of that sideways position. And we'll come all the way up to a seated or to a standing position. Whatever works for what the kind of day that you have next. Let's take one last sun breath to close our class. We'll inhale to lift our arms out and up, reaching towards the stars. Exhale brings the hands together and down towards the heart as we close our eyes and drop our chin towards our chest so that we can each bow to the divine being inside of us, whom we love dearly. The light in me honors the light in each of you. Let your next inhale lift your chin, open your eyes, release your hands, and thank you so much for joining me today for Yoga and How to Modify. I'm Dee, and it's a pleasure meeting back here each week to teach you yoga. Thanks so much, and see you soon. Take care.